Sandy Cole, the lead innovation officer at Franklin Templeton, is on Paul Barron's show talking about their spot XRP ETF and the future and everything that it holds. If you're not familiar with who Sandy Cole is, I did a great video of all of her clips talking about why financial institutions are moving towards tokenization, the timeline on how long this is going to play out, what blockchains and all of these things are included right here. If you want to go back and watch this was 9 days ago. It's got 28,000 views and people in the comments said this is one of the most important videos that I've made in recent times. Now let's jump into this interview, specifically talking about our favorite crypto asset, XRP.
Speaking of ETFs, I know you guys, of course, just entered the ETF market with XRP. This is a massive signal, I think, for a lot of institutional validity, especially for XRP in general. But I want to pivot to that a little bit and talk about that because you guys are shipping a product now with, what is it, XRP? Is that
it's XRP.
Okay. So this is available now. A huge validation for the XRP ledger, what's going on with XRP as a whole. This has been a little bit of a fee war, though. You guys came out with a very good, aggressive fee. I think it was almost 0.19%. Explain to me how it's going so far.
It's been great. I mean, look, we are a partner to the Ripple organization. We're working with them in many ways. We see the value that they're creating across their whole ecosystem, including the XRP chain. And so we think that, we have an investment team and we run funds that are actually investing in coins and crypto. This is one of the investments that we've favored. We think being able to offer it to clients in an ETF is important. We've also added it to our Easy Peasy, which is our multi-coin ETF that has now 8 different coins in it. And XRP is actually our 4th largest allocation in that multi-coin portfolio. So we're really able to bring our investment conviction about the chains that we think are going to really be instrumental in creating this new industry infrastructure. This is what gets represented in our Easy Peasy product, and that is what we're able to offer to clients to give them either diversified exposure, or if they want an individual coin like XRPZ, they can get into the XRP ETF individually as well.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with like the fee wars and what he's talking about here is each ETF has a different fee associated with that, how much the custodian and how much the company takes in order to allow you to operate and buy shares and hold those shares. And so when you're talking about a fee war, whoever has the lowest fees usually wins. And sometimes they're for like the first 3 or 6 months, and sometimes they're up to a certain amount of money. But it looks like Franklin Templeton understood that they needed to come in lower here, and they are benefiting from that. Now, the other thing that they discussed here was kind of the Franklin Templeton's index funds, where they have 8 different assets. You can invest in 1 share of something and it'll cover those 8 assets. And they're saying that XRP is ranked 4 on that, which means any money going into that will go into the top 1, 2, 3, and then XRP 4th. I have to look and see how much the percentage of it is, but it's really good to know that it's ranked top 4 in that. I'd imagine Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana would probably be the top 3 in that. That's just my speculation off what I know, but let me play this.
And that augments the ETFs that we have already in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Well, that's kind of the question I have is we have talked to a handful of fund managers that have launched XRP ETFs here recently, all of which have been very successful. Do you think we're at a phase now where the institutional validity that's being put out there within Wall Street, along with the demand that's coming from both institution and retail, has this started to step XRP up to the level of what's happening in the Bitcoin and ETH ETFs?
I think that we're moving in that direction, right? I think that there is a very interesting story playing out around stablecoins. XRP is one of the only chains that also has its own stablecoin, right? The RLUSD. And I think that adds a new element to what they might be able to do in terms of building business around the chain. Don't forget, I think one of the most exciting prospects of these new rails is going to be the vast increase in the number of computer-to-computer transactions that are going to start to occur as we see more people get comfortable with Web3 models, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you have your own stablecoin and you've got this chain that is already a public chain that has an independent verification network operating around it, this starts to become, I think, a pretty interesting business case, which is why we've been looking to partner with and doing more with Ripple over the last couple of years. Don't forget, they had some challenges here in the US while that lawsuit was on.
Sure.
And outside the US, they've been continuing to build their business dramatically. You know, we operate globally, so we've been engaged with them in Asia for some time, and now we're seeing that start to spread out to more regions of the world.
Wow. Franklin Templeton admitting they've been working with Ripple for years in parts of Asia and all over the world, and especially now here in the US, now that the legal clarity is cleared up. Now, I was looking at what the 8 cryptos are, just to give you some additional context here. It is Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Sol, Doge, ADA, XLM, and Link. So yes, Solana would be 3 there. XRP would be 4. I'm not sure which, what the other like, what's 5, 6, and 7, but those are the assets that are focused on. You're going to see a lot of products being offered like this. This is just the start, I would imagine. And right now, ETFs represent roughly about 13 trillion here in the United States, 18 trillion globally, and crypto only represents 150 billion of that 13 and 18 trillion. So you can see over the next few years that this is just going to grow parabolically, and more money and assets will come into the crypto market through these institutional products. Now, this is a great clip of a bunch of clips put together. Let's just play it. I'll give you the context.
Stablecoins getting a lot of attention lately.
Now, the US Congress has passed the first federal legislation to regulate stablecoins.
This is simply taking our payment system into the 21st century.
What's next? I mean, if you think about the next forefront of stablecoins,
I think the whole market's going to grow dramatically this year.
I think this is big.
Stablecoins are reinventing finance.
Banks interested in stablecoins are new regulations on paving way.
Stablecoin institutional adoption.
I love a good beat. I love a good beat.
Stablecoins that we see now are the long-awaited revolution in payments and in the financial industry.
The Genius Act has been the biggest compliance milestone that opened the gates for big institutions to use stablecoins.
It has been a huge paradigm shift, which will create clarity and certainty for the industry.
As soon as new regulations were coming in, we saw huge adoption.
We're seeing institutions globally really participate in the stablecoin ecosystem and really wanting to get a piece of it.
Why is that? Because it also brings some clarity and some certainty to use this new type of payment and services.
Now there's payments, there's trade finance, and a wide variety of use cases.
The next phase of adoption will be driven by utility and enterprise use cases. Institutions care about transparent, trusted, well-funded assets that they can utilize in their systems.
So we've been seeing a lot of institutions ask about RLUSD. And I think one of the reasons is the DFS regulation, the track record Ripple has had over the years.
RLUSD, we believe, is the most trusted regulated stablecoin in the market. We're seeing banks, we're seeing corporates, retailers coming into the flow. All of that demand is really coming around the operational efficiency of using programmable money 24/7.
So we at BCG, we're super optimistic when it comes to stablecoins. By 2030, we estimated and expect that 2.5 to 3 trillion of US dollar will be in stablecoins.
You see a world where stablecoins really act as that fundamental bridge and unit of account. So it's going to be a very exciting time in the stablecoin landscape.
Can we just take a second here and understand where we are? We're about to experience the most transformative technology to our financial system in human history. Just let that sink in for a second. And also let it sink in that you have an opportunity to own a piece of that financial system. You've never had that opportunity before. It's always been institutions and big banks that own all of the infrastructure. Well, now when you own an XRP, a Solana, and Ethereum, you're owning a piece of that infrastructure. And that is going to be how all movement of money is going to happen. Whether it's through stablecoins or money market funds or treasuries or stocks and equities, whatever it is all coming to blockchain. And the biggest institutional grade compliance blockchains are going to see the biggest amount of value transacted on them. This is why when people bicker about the today price, zoom out, understand where you are. Who cares? A year, 3, 5 years from now, this industry will be worth hundreds of trillions of dollars on chain. It really depends on how quickly they're able to transform everything and get the jurisdictions and the regulations correct. If the global trend had all the regulations that were very similar, money could move seamlessly across borders, and that is what is currently being set up. That's why you have the US flying to the UK and working on a transatlantic partnership. That's why you have the Treasury of the United States talking with Japan to get everybody on the same level playing field. We're about to enter this phase of crypto that has just been talked about and rumored about for years. And we're right on the precipice of all of this happening. It's just incredible, man. All right, Crypto Darren put this great clip together. I wanted to play it. I wanted to highlight Crypto Darren. He's one of the channels that I first started to come into XRP and learn from. He's a great guy and happy to show his clip.
So particularly in the US, and there's other markets around the world that are starting to get that regulatory framework as well. So that will be exciting for us.
Bearable Guy quoted Freddie Mercury, and then Visa came out with a commercial using Queen's song, Don't Stop Me Now. Now, when you listen to this clip, what is he telling us? Well, you see, Visa, MasterCard, these credit cards have taken over the retail consumer-to-consumer type of payments. And what he's talking about is back-end business-to-business. And what they're doing is replicating the Nostro Vostro type of system, but using it at a smaller scale, using stable coins. So usually Visa is doing just payments. There's no settlement. They send instructions for settlement between Visa in Europe and Visa in the United States, and they settle up and they figure out a way to settle everything at the end. In this use case, what he is describing is using stable coins as collateral for a Nostro Vostro system that is very small scale. And that means anyone can do it.
Yeah, it starts with Visa Direct. So Visa Direct is our cross-border real-time money movement platform. Today, if you wanted to send money to someone, you could load your bank card into it. You could also use your bank account. But now we're adding stablecoin wallets as a way to receive money.
Someday you're going to wake up very soon and Apple and Android have sent an update to your phone, and you know your phone update automatically, and you'll be like, what is this new crypto wallet that's now on my phone? I didn't download anything, but it's here. That is when we've reached mass adoption, when anybody can send pretty much anything of tokenized form directly to you through your phone number or an email. That is mass adoption, and it is on the horizon. All we need to do is sit back, keep learning, keep expanding our knowledge, and we will get there together. Also, we have some information here from Digital Assets Daily. Our purpose-built DAT gives investors access to tomorrow's markets powered by XRP opportunities and real institutional adoption. And so he's just highlighting here what Evernorth has been putting out, how we approach digital asset growth, all this good stuff, diversified growth opportunities, harnessing the strategic principles of both TradeFi and DeFi. We turn XRP holdings into sustainable growth for investors. It says deep team experience. Our team brings decades of combined experience into blockchain and global finance, supported by trusted relationships across TradeFi and other digital asset ecosystems, and institutional adoption, clear regulations, and the rise of our stablecoin are fueling XRP's momentum from day one. It is purpose-built for finance, payments. Today, it will lead the way in both tokenized and real-world assets via blockchain. Love that. All right, I did have one other clip I wanted to play for you in this block of video. It is from Crypto in America. Give people access to markets. Let me play this.
Chairman Atkins has talked about super apps. Chairman Pham has talked about, I want to do the same thing on the commodity side. At the end of the day, what are we trying to solve for? We're trying to make sure that people can have access to markets. It's kind of like American is apple pie. Give people access to markets. Make sure that they're not manipulated. There's a little fraud, their disclosures, and people should be able to take risk as long as they know what that risk is. It'd be great to get some mitigations around counterparty risk like we talked about earlier. But I really think it starts with principles, and then the regulation should support those principles. So I would like to see maximum access to any type of asset that people want to trade, provided they know what the risks that they're getting into and in clear, transparent form. And I think that's good for liquidity. Why wouldn't you want to have one user experience to trade spot, to trade derivatives, to trade securities all in one? Why do we need to have these artificial boundaries when it's about the principles that matter? And the principles are the same. So what if something is a pork belly or a security? Know what you're getting into, make sure it's disclosed, and then take risk. So I like it. I know Chairman Pham is looking at FX markets as retail FX markets as kind of a proxy. Look, one of the challenges that I think a lot of people have with the market structure bill is today, like I said, commodities are not regulated. Only fraud, manipulation, and abuse. Commodities have to deal with all the states. That's a real pain if you're an exchange, right? You get next thing you know, Oregon's suing you or something, and you're like, oh. And this is actually going on in prediction markets right now too with Kalshi, where there's this big debate. Well, this is my right. No, this is federal. And so like one of the greatest things about this legislation is federal preemption. You have one set of rules that you apply, it applies to all the states. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But, in the absence of that, now, the question is, okay, I'm regulating these digital assets, but I'm not regulating other commodities. Like, so where do you draw the line? That's very complex.
I think they're trying to figure out what is the best form of regulation without hampering the market. And when you have the CFTC and the SEC working together on this harmonization of regulations, I think it is only going to be a winning recipe for America's financial system moving forward. I'm so excited. I hope you are too, guys. If you got any value from the content, please hit like, leave a comment below, share with anybody that you think would get value. I really appreciate your time. It is an absolute honor to spend this time with you every day. I'm Crypto Sensei. I'll see you in the next one. Aloha.